Good evening, everyone. I am Prachi Bidai and I drive initiative for the Elite Institutes. I welcome you to this special webinar by IMS. So, continuing last year's initiative by IMS, we bring you another season of Management Masterclass, which is a sneak peek into management pedagogy. In our constant endeavor to impart and enhance our students' knowledge, we have conceptualized these sessions so that the students get first-hand experience in the school pedagogy by expert faculty members on different subjects being offered in an MBA course. So this session that we have planned today would give you a feel of, actually attending an introductory B school session on a given topic. It will help you get a gist of important subjects and be equipped in making your selection for your best MBA course. So this season we present our second session for our MBA aspirants, which is on marketing trends during pandemic. So let's go with this. That it's been almost about a year, more than a year since the pandemic has begun, right? Still, we don't have answers for most of our questions. But one thing is for clear, right? That the sky is blue, as we see that not acting is not a good option, right? So when we say that, virtually all projections anticipate that post-pandemic marketing will be all about speed and agility. Now, when I say that, with rapidly changing consumer behaviors, with fluctuating market dynamics and evolving business models, marketing must reform as well. So, what do we expect from our today's session? Some key takeaways would be one, reviewing basic marketing concepts and framework. Second, in depth understanding of consumer behavior and consumer decision making process. Third, would be understanding how the pandemic has shaped consumer wants. Fourth, assessing the long term impact of pandemic on the consumer buying process. And fifth and last would be discussing the strategies used by companies for responding to the pandemic, which has been, most important for many of us in the corporate. To throw more light on this interesting topic and share insight, I would like to welcome Professor Harvinder Singh, who is going to talk all about marketing during the pandemic. Now, Dr. Singh has published articles in journals of international repute, and his case studies are registered at Richard Ivey Case Repository and are also available at the Harvard Business School publishing portal. Welcome to our session today, Dr. Singh, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Prachi. Thanks for three things. First, for giving me the opportunity to interact with the students. Second, for building the foundation for my lecture, so I need not start from the scratch. And third, for covering slide number 2 of my presentation, which is the agenda for the day.
Okay.
Well, so my workload is a slide less. Yes. Good evening, everyone. It's indeed a pleasure interacting with the young minds. And, what makes it special is that whatever number we have right now, you people have made yourself available for this session on a Friday evening. Friday evenings are not generally meant for academic lectures. I really appreciate your being here with me, and I'll try my level best to make sure that you don't regret being with me. Fine. In fact, when the option came, I had the option of giving a standard, typical marketing lecture, which is a much easier thing for me to deliver. I've been teaching for last more than 20 years. But I thought, let me deliver something which people can really relate with what's happening around. If you pick up even the most popular textbook on marketing by Philip Kotler, even that textbook is not set in the contemporary context. Most all textbooks that are available in the marketing were written in pre-pandemic world. And in the days of pandemic, we have seen things have changed a lot. Now, there are basic curiosities. Have things changed or not? The answer is yes. Has everything changed? That's a debatable thing. So, how things have changed, how this change that we see around us, how has it entered our minds? Remember, organizations are observing us as consumers, and accordingly, they are also making changes because they follow us as consumers. So this lecture has basically two parts. One is to understand ourselves as consumers, what's happening inside our minds. We need to know how we have started taking decisions, what has changed within us. Once we know this, then you can of course go to the other side of the table, step into a company's shoes. Because obviously the ones who are preparing to get into an MBA want to be at the other side of the table. You should know what kind of changes can be made in your controllable variables. I will not use technical terms. So that was the first slide. Of course, the topic, this is second slide, courtesy Prachi. I need not talk about it. I'll talk about one thing basically. So when we talk about point number one, I mean, you can have a complete course on basic marketing concepts, but I will actually talk about uh, the triumvirate of marketing. Fine, need, want, demand, we'll talk. Out of which demand, I will not speak more on need and want. Because I want to really talk about how pandemic has changed. Consumer behavior and decision-making process, I'll present those models, but my intention is not to go deep into those models. That will become boring and academic. Fine. I'll see how pandemic has touched upon these models. You will have deeper discussion when you actually go to your MBA classrooms. There you will study psychological foundations or theories behind that. Fine. Point number three is basically an explanation of point number one, because I'll try to club both of them together. More important is we want to understand the long-term impact. Something change transiently, something change forever. As an organization, companies would want to know the long-term changes, permanent scars, as we call them. Fine. So let's see what these are. And last, when we talk about strategies, we'll confine ourselves to 4P. Fine. So how we proceed? Normally, such sessions have speaking time, lecturing time, and then followed by Q&A time. But I normally move differently in my classes. So what I prefer is I request students to start contributing. So I will actually reach out to you in the middle of my class with questions, with options to intervene. You can always raise your hand. In case you seek clarification or anything, feel free to raise your hand. If time and schedule permits, I'll surely invite you. One thing is for sure, I might not give everyone a chance to speak, but the early bird catches the worm. So let's see, the first ones to raise hand would surely be given a chance to present themselves to the class. Of course, as you speak, I'll appreciate if you switch on your camera. Okay, let's go to the task. Let's play a quiz to begin with. Okay, and here you can intervene, you can raise your hand. I will show you a picture, and this is very specific to the pandemic. I'm showing you a product that was launched in the month of January 2021. So practically in the middle of pandemic. You're supposed to tell me what product is this and why is this product special or unique. Yes, have a good look at this. Raise your hand.
Sir, it's sanitizer.
Okay, what's the name? Which company makes it and why it's so special?
I don't know, sir, company's name.
Maybe someone else who has used this product. I have this at my home, so I could think of this. When I bought this, I was really surprised, not shocked. I was surprised. Yes, the brand name is it's Hello Sunshine. Hello Sunshine. But more importantly, there is one small word on top of hello. I purposefully did not expand the graphic beyond a point. I did not want you to read the answer. The brand name is.
Someone has mentioned it, yes.
Pardon?
Someone has mentioned it on the chat.
Ah, really?
Yes, yes.
Ah, Bisleri,
Yes.
Asma. Asma Sheikh, why didn't you unmute and speak?
Harshit Tuli and Asma Sheikh.
Well, it's difficult for me to manage
I
the
would do that,
panel
yes.
finding it. Well, you're a great help that way. Good. Good. In the chat. Great. Yes, it is Bisleri. Very good. Harshit, Asma, I can read those comments. Imagine a company which is known for selling packaged drinking water suddenly gets into a product which actually has nothing to do. In fact, even the distribution channels are not exactly the same. Of course, this product is available in almost all the stores where the Bisleri supplies its bottled water, but over and above, it's also available in many, not all, many pharmaceutical stores, pharmacies. So that's the fun of it. That's the impact of it. A company that has practically nothing to do with this category now gets into this simply because they see this is the direction where the market is moving. And of course, it's not a typical sanitizer. It has a floral fragrance. So the graphic that you have is lemon fragrance. Fine. So imagine a sanitizer is not specifically a health product. They have added something different to it. Fine. Now, so how this pandemic is playing with our minds? We normally say there's a triumvirate in marketing: need, want, and demand. Fine. Okay. Anyone who wants to tell what need is, of course, it's too much of me to ask for a technical definition. But anyone who has read about need part, what is need?
Sir, a need is a consumer desire for a product or service specific benefits, sir.
So need is expressed in terms of another term called desire. So then we again go to what's desire anyway. But that's a good thing. You are closer to what most people would say. Let me see the chat box. Necessity. No, things are required for living. Okay, Vishal, I got a point. Not able to unmute myself. Anyway, things that are required to living. You know what? One basic thing is they say basic requirements. In many textbooks, including Kotler, they say basic requirements. And in many books, they say food, clothing, shelter, etc. But point is, one person's necessity is other person's luxury. Correct? There can't be a standard answer to it. In food, there are ranges ranging from a rupee to thousands of rupees or millions of rupees. Right? Same holds true for clothing. Same holds true for shelter. Normally, what we say is, and I'm being direct without winding around because more important things are supposed to come later. Normally, people say, I need a watch. I need an iPhone. Please, you don't need an iPhone. You never need an iPhone. You don't need a bottle of Bisleri. You don't need Coke. You don't need potato chips because products are never needed. Need is independent of product. Yes, let's come. I'll talk about this because once we understand this relationship need and want, then we move on to impact of pandemic. Remember, need, when we say the basic requirements, when Kotler says needs are basic requirements, he does not mean to say roti, kapda or makan. He simply says requirements broken down to the most basic level. Broken down to that basic level where there are more of feelings, emotions, deprivations or requirements, not product. So food, nutrition is a requirement. Taste could be a requirement. Fine. Hydration could be a requirement. Rejuvenation could be a requirement for, things like Red Bull and all that. Okay. Please understand. That is why when we talk of, say, morning nutrition, it's not breakfast. Breakfast is what? Morning nutrition. And of course, when organizations look at needs, for example, morning nutrition is a need. One person will create one kind of product, assuming that will satisfy the need. So here comes the kind of product. Abhi want nahi hai, want is still not there. Looking at needs which are independent of the physical form, organizations look at them, create physical products, assuming these are mine is the best one. Fine. Now, you as a consumer, when you look at them, then something happens. And that's something I better show you. Fine. Between need and want, I'm presenting this mannequin, representing consumers like you and me. What does it signify? Anyone who wants to? I say this is not a mannequin. It's me. See, the color of t-shirt matches the color of my turban, correct? That's me. But why do you see this? Of course, I'll carry on my conversation. You may type in the chat box, you may raise your hand. That's perfectly okay. Filters, of course, filters. True. What kind of filters? That we need to understand. And where does COVID come into this? Pandemic comes into this. See, organizations create a lot of products. Okay. For example, for morning nutrition, there are options like aloo ka paratha. Purchasing power comes, Aniket, in the context of demand. I don't plan to discuss demand. It is so easy a concept to understand. Basic confusion normally is between need and want. So I'll spend more time on that. Okay. So when I look at morning nutrition requirements, I'm a typical North Indian Punjabi guy. I look at masala dosa. I look at things like paratha. I look at cornflakes. I look at omelets. When I look at them, I do not like all of them. All of them are not acceptable to me. Only some are acceptable. The acceptable physical solutions for a need are wants. So I want a paratha. I do not want dosa. I mean, don't take it literally. I love South Indian food, but I'm saying for the purpose of saying is. So Ashutosh, you are saying filtered persuasion, Aditya, is a nice representation of what we're talking. Anything that can fit it irrespective of wants. Ashutosh, maybe you want to unmute and explain it to all the participants, because I think you can explain it better and maybe you can hit the bullseye. So wants are acceptable products targeting certain needs. Okay. Now, where this filter comes, I say when I look at the breakfast, I have a filter, means, preferences which are part of my mind. My family has taught me something. My culture has taught me something. My friends have trained me on something. My teachers, my experiences in past. All these are wire meshes, horizontal and vertical, which hinder the free flow. Had this wire mesh not been there, had this filter not been there, all the available products would have been wanted by me. I would have been neutral towards masala dosa, South Indian, continental, Chinese, Indian, North Indian, whatever. Right now, it is not. These wire meshes come from our culture, our religion, our family, our grooming, our everything. See, and different people have different wires, and different people have different densities. Some people are under so many constraints mentally, psychologically, socially, that they are very choosy. Very few products pass through their psychological filters. So what you are looking at are basically psychological filters that all of us carry in our minds. Fine. Now, these psychological filters play differently. For some people, they are very dense, very few products pass through. For some people, they are very lean. So there are big gaps, a lot of products pass through. And this is the difference between someone who's more liberal or someone who's more conservative in consumption or buying decisions. Some people are choosy, some people are not. Okay. I mean, demand is still not there. I mean, I really want a Ferrari. I can't afford. I'm a poor teacher. Fine. So let's not talk about demand at this stage. So you understand, need, basic requirements means requirements broken down to the basic level where they are independent of their physical form. And want are acceptable products or physical solutions for targeting those needs. Okay. And the gap between need and want is our filters. These filters come from various sources. Now we need to talk about pandemic. Okay. How did pandemic play a role? Pandemic played a role simply because pandemic changed these filters. Fine. For example, our fears and our concerns are also filters. Many a times many people did not eat street food pre-pandemic, saying, oh, dirty hands, fine. But many people enjoyed it, loved it. But if you go out, maybe 6 months, a year back, I'm talking of the first wave end, all those street food vendors, they were in bad shape. Some of them came back, but the business did not go to that level, simply because people who were earlier enjoying licking their fingers, standing in front of food stalls, even they stopped going or reduced consumption because of fear. Suddenly, hygiene became a strong filter. Health immunity became another filter. And these filters operate very strangely. Certain products got squeezed out, others got sucked in. For example, all those immunity boosting products. Oh, we were saying take more money. I'm talking of upper middle class, not everyone. Our India is comprising of many Indias, fine. Want is Shubham, want is basically an outcome of our freedom to choose. Okay, it's the end result of the outcome of our freedom to choose or our choice mechanism. Fine, you're closer to the real thing. Okay, now when we talk about pandemic, it has played on our minds. As a result, our filters have changed. So, at first, in some cases, they have become tighter. In some cases, they are more broader. It operates differently on different segments. Poor vis-a-vis affluent, educated vis-a-vis uneducated. So if you look at demand for immunity boosting products, organic products, health enhancing, I'm talking of urban India, demand has actually gone up. The demand was building up last few years because health was concerned, but pandemic actually triggered it, multiplied by 10 kind of thing. And now more and more companies are actually looking at this as a very serious profitable business proposition. Okay, let's move on. So alternatively, if you open your marketing textbook, they will show all these factors which influence consumer behavior. So psychological ones talk about in human beings brain. Personal talks about an individual's life. You can see, read details, age and all that. Social are the factors which affect everyone who live in a society. And when I say society, we are talking of people who actually share uh, uh, physical and time space. Fine. So when I say people in my society, I'm not talking of locality. Society means people in the city or area I live. I might not meet them, know them in person, but they are like me. They are a part of my, social realm. Culture is much more wider. It cuts across time. It cuts across geography. So Indian culture is not only in India; it's abroad also. Same holds true for Hispanic, Latino culture, Spanish culture. Interestingly, more Spanish-speaking people live in Latin America, in Central and South America, than in Spain. Fine. I think it's the same must be true for Italian. Someone told me that more a Lebanese friend of mine. I was in Dubai for a couple of years on deputation. A friend from Lebanon told me that more Lebanese people live in Brazil than in Lebanon. That's the strange part. Anyway, it happens. A lot of Turkish people live in Germany, a huge group. Anyway, so when we talk about this, you understand that pandemic affects you at psychological level. It changes our motivation. We are motivated more towards health enhancing. Fine. It affects our personal factors. Our occupation changes. People have lost their jobs. Economic situation changes. Lifestyle changes. Personality changes. People become more fearful, more cautious. It changes our social behavior. You must have seen this. Good old namaste is back. Hello is gone, or it has been replaced by a tap of the elbow. So people, I also do. I go to gym in the morning. I bang my elbow with my friend. So that's one way of. We don't shake hands, and that's perfectly okay. Now both of us are fully vaccinated. So me and my friends, but then we can shake hands, but we somehow prefer that. Okay, and of course, in the long run, it will impact our culture also. Talks of stories about pandemic. See, it changes our culture in what sense? Look at marriages, look at functions. Earlier, marriages used to be really big. At least right now, this has given a chance to people to have very intimate marriage where only close family members were there, as it used to be maybe long back. And who knows, it becomes a permanent part of culture in some areas. We need to, we are not very sure about it. Possibility of impacting culture is definitely there. So when we talk about impact of pandemic, it starts with affecting an individual's mind. But as it passes on, expands, it touches individuals' lives, people around us, and of course, the entire culture. Fine. Stop me at any point you want to, fine, or seek clarification. I presume that the flow is smooth. So now, point is, you want to do an MBA, fine. You do not want to do an MBA to understand how pandemic affects individuals, because then you would have done MA in sociology or psychology. They would have told you similar things. Okay. Shane Samuel. Yes, Shane, you raised your hand, I believe. Is it so?
Apologies, sir. That was my mistake.
Okay, it's okay. Fine. So it's not MS sociology or psychology. You really want to be in an MBA program because you want to know what repercussions it has for business. There is another model. So what I showed you earlier was consumer behavior model of consumer behavior. You will come across this in your marketing textbook in very first year, very first trimester. But the moment you talk about impact on business, you will also come across another model. It is called PESTEL. We say business is it's not symmetric because the words are short and long. So I have picked up a symmetric graphic and I have modified it. Looks a bit odd. So it says business works under the influence of political environment, economic environment, social environment, where consumers are a part of it. Technological environment, we all know 4G, smartphones and all that. Environmental, we all talk of climate change and global warming. And legal environment, which is regulatory framework. Different sources will have different names. Sometimes social is called socio-cultural, legal is called regulatory, environmental is called natural, fine? Okay. I wish to claim that, say that in future editions of textbooks, it's called PESTEL framework, there should be a seventh force also. It's PESTEL with double P because pathological is now also a factor. Fine. The reason being, pandemic has told that there could be ailment that cuts across geographies, simply shuts entire verticals and businesses, brings life to a complete halt, might possibly involve, push countries towards war. Think of the scenario when everyone was blaming China for this. Wuhan virus was the name that Trump gave to this ailment. Fine. I'm not absolving anyone. But the point is, at one point in time, it seemed as if countries are about to fight. So pathological. So this is a PESTEL model. You will come across this, but make sure you might come across the fact that by the time you join MBA, you have another P in this model by the name pathological. Okay. Okay. Let's talk of something more practical. You see a graphic here. What does it convey to you? Somrita, yes.
Yes, sir. It is. It represent that wear mask everywhere.
But why this mask is on? Do you see the product? It's not on a face. It is not on a face. Correct? It is on
Yes,
something
sir.
else. So that's true. Wear mask everywhere. But why the mask is on this shopping cart? I see two participants raised hand. Let me see the names. Vishal. Vishal, let's hope you are.
Hello, sir.
Now
Yeah.
I can hear you.
So, my interpretation will be moving towards some more hygienic or health conscious products.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. That's great. That's great. Let's see who else wants to speak. I see in chat, I see a number of comments. Influence consumer behavior. Safe shopping. Who said that? Full points, Ramiz. Pain points of true. Kushagra, you're also correct. But the right word is shopping. So far, we talked about things which are more philosophical. Mind, psychology, society, culture. Forget this. Keep them in the drawer. When we move out and start doing shopping, what kind of changes come? And that's my intention of picking this graphic. Impact during shopping. Fine. Of course, you will say the psychological processes are behind that, but the process of shopping also has a lot of meaning for organizations, because as we discuss, we'll talk about a few situations. Fine. How does this affect buying process? Now, it's very simple. It's again another model. So this is, I believe, we did need one demand. We talked about consumer behavior model. We talked about Pestle. This is fourth model in 35 minutes. That's great. It's a simpler model and it's practically more relevant. A modification of consumer buying process, people normally say it's more relevant to talk about customer journey. Fine, you'll of course do that in a typical MBA program. Then of course you'll also talk about learn about consumer experience, because these days experience was talked about a lot, and suddenly pandemic comes. So impact of pandemic on customer experience is a completely different study, a complete discussion chapter on that. But let's not go that side. Basic consumer buying process. When we want to buy something, we recognize the need for it. For example, you enter your washroom and you pick up your toothpaste and you squeeze it and realize, oh my god, doesn't come out. You feel the need for buying a toothpaste. Of course, you manage somehow, you twist it. Fine, you take a haath se daba ke, you take a balan from, what we say, rolling pin from the kitchen, and then you press it and then you take something out of it, saying, oh, sham ko zarur leke aaunga, I'll surely buy it. Need recognition. Then, of course, if it's a first-time purchase, it's a new purchase, or it's a costly purchase, we'll look for information. All of us have access to internet. We have our friends who have bought. We might consult experts. We might see blogs and vlogs. We might talk to retailers whom we know. Elders also have a role to play. Kids have a role to play these days. I mean, I've seen people buying cars which in funny colors, fluorescent colors. Imagine a 55-year-old or 45-year-old guy driving a pink or peach colored car. And I say, why you bought this? You like this color? The guy says, no, my kids wanted that color. Hota hai. Okay. Evaluation of alternatives. Once you look for information, you have multiple options. Think of a typical buying a washing machine. I bought a washing machine 3 days back. So we looked for models, size, brands, semi-auto, fully auto, and all that. We evaluate what makes sense. Then, of course, we make a purchase decision, and it has many things. For example, from where to buy. I could have gone to Chroma. I could have gone to company's dealership. I could have bought online. Fine. How much to buy, when to buy, where to buy, cash or credit. Fine. All these things. And of course, post-purchase behavior. That's the standard model. We'll do this. Do you think this process has been impacted by pandemic? For example, did pandemic affect the way you recognize the needs? Else, I'll show you a graphic. Maybe that will help you in remembering something. So anyone, look at this graphic and then let me know if you think our need recognition changed. If not, then Krishna can unmute and speak. Krishna Desai.
What impulsive buying?
Impulsive buying. Buying in anticipation. Buying even when there was no urgent need of it. Think of medicines like Fabiflu. I did not consume or need Fabiflu. Even then, I think a couple of strips of Fabiflu must be in my drawer. Because at that time, I bought it anticipating I might need it. But at home, before pandemic, we never thought of keeping stock of things much more beyond. So in stores, these paper napkins, they were out of stock because people bought huge stock. Because lockdown khula, you never know. The shops might not open again. The stock out might be there. So people bought 6 months ration, or people bought grocery much more than the requirement. And that's yes, purchasing stock in bulk. Dhananjay, very detailed answer. I really appreciate this, but this has happened actually. Very true. More stock. Stocking for a long time. Very true. But then yes, there's a qualifying criteria. You should be in the appropriate customer segment, because you should be in a position to afford buying that much. Everyone cannot afford buying huge stock. Correct? Okay. Now let's move. So that's the need recognition part. Things have changed. The other part is information search. Has it changed? I mean, we were going online, most of us. We were also discussing with people or friends. Has things changed? Are we searching information differently these days? Are we more online or less online? Are we more consulting people in person, face to face, or less? I think the answer should be obvious. More, of course. The answer is obvious. But then, what is so great about this observation? I mean, think of adoption of technology, think of digital money, digital wallets like Paytm, fine, it existed before pandemic. And more people were accepting it. Then what? What change has pandemic made? Here I would want to suggest you read another concept. That would be the fifth concept to be discussed or mentioned. It's called diffusion of innovation curve. Everett Rogers gave that model in 60s. He says whenever a new innovation comes in the market, it passes through a phase because all the target customers do not respond, accept it at the same pace. Some people are more enthusiastic, more welcoming. Some are less welcoming, less open. Fine. So it so happens that it follows a bell-shaped curve. Very few people pick it up in the beginning. They are called innovators. When slightly more people pick it up a few moments later, they are called early adopters. Then a large number, early majority. Then the back of the curve, late majority, and the tail of the curve is called laggards. Fine. X-axis is the proportion of people accepting it, and the horizontal y-axis is time. Every innovation takes time in getting diffused into the market. Now, what pandemic has done is it has squeezed the time frame. It has catalyzed this. The whole process of diffusion got speeded up. The guys who were at the tail, laggards or late majority, even they were forced to use technology for things as basic as information search, use Google, which stores, which products, what is available. And let me tell you, pandemic is not the only thing. Many a times, if we talk about digital money, fine, Paytm existed long back, some time back. But remember demonetization, we have just finished 5 years of that great event, 8th November. Mitron, bhaiyo aur behno, we all know that, fine. It was a very strong decision. Suddenly, overnight, digital money or Paytm acceptance became rapid. Of course, the phenomena was confined to one country called India. So many a times, regulatory decisions, administrative decisions also create situations, macro forces, that diffusion of innovation is actually forced onto people and market accepts it. Okay. So pandemic has actually forced even those people who were not tech savvy to go for online information search. Then of course we move on to evaluation of alternatives. Here things become anyone who knows about this graphic, what this picture is all about. It's the statue is still there in Rodin Museum in Paris. So we all think, we compare, but when we compare, parameters of evaluation have changed. So for example, when it comes to shopping, earlier we used to look for variety, economy, experience. That's why shopping malls, hypermarkets, supermarkets were doing so well. But suddenly it moves on to, the parameter moves on to something as basic as safety, hygiene. People are comfortable with less variety, but then they want it safe. Okay. I'm being quick. Purchase decision, yes. A strange phenomena you must have observed. I'm not going to you because the time is running fast. See, there are three formats. I mean, 15 years back when I was into my teaching, young guy, the basic fight was between traditional mom and pop stores and modern format stores, supermarkets. And mom and pop stores were afraid that malls will kill them. Then came online. And then both of them, traditional and mall supermarkets, modern format, they thought online will affect them. And now all three are fighting each other. But during the pandemic, strange things have been observed. Of course, supermarkets were closed for a long, long time. So online was doing big basket, players like Big Basket, Grofers, they were doing very well. But interestingly, another thing is your neighborhood kirana wala also got a fresh lease of life. So if you are working for an FMCG company, say, you understand that your traditional mom and pop store is the backbone of your business, because during things like pandemic, customers are more comfortable either receiving things online or receiving things from a known source, because you can track the person's health. Otherwise, sharing retail space with strangers who might have come from different backgrounds with unknown medical history, that's risky, that's shocking. Okay, so it's a big challenge for these supermarkets. Millions of rupees spent in creating those, running those, but they have tough days ahead. And post purchase, of course, people are online for hours and hours. So online reviews, they were always there. But then when people are online, they search information online, they evaluate online, chances are they also express themselves online. And expressing their anger online is much easier. And if you are angry and you are unhappy with the product in the physical world, if you shout loud, only a certain number of people can listen you. But if you shout online, your reach is much higher. So that's again one thing that organizations need to take care. Last part is marketing mix. That's the last concept to be done. And then, of course, if time permits, I'll open for Q&A also. So we have seen all this. Fine. We have seen changes that are happening in the pathological world. We have seen changes happening in consumers' mind, changes in society. Governments also impose changes looking at the pandemic. Now, unfortunately, a business organization is very helpless because most of these factors are uncontrollable for them. For example, look at the entire pastel thing. You can't control political environment. Of course, you need to be the richest Indian to ensure that. But then in general, most business people don't control politics. You don't control economy. You don't control society. You don't control technology. They are all uncontrollable. So if suddenly something changes at the political level, government announces GST application, what do? You can only mix and match whatever resources. Even competition is uncontrollable. You can't control competition. So what you do is, if your competitor brings down price, what you do? You either improve your quality, or you reduce your price, or you increase your advertising, or you start reaching those places where your rivals can't reach. Fine. Now, it means you have certain controllable factors under your control. You mix and match them. Government says no plastics, you change packaging. What to do? Government says high taxation. Okay, you pass on that price rise to customer. Or you reduce quantity in the packaging. What else? Or you cut down on your advertising budget. Kya karoge? That's the only way. So marketing mix primarily is not, people say 4P, 7P. There are different models available. The composition could be anything, but basic philosophy is marketing mix is a set of controllable factors that any company will play with or mix and match. Why? To respond appropriately to the challenges posed by uncontrollable factors. Whenever uncontrollable factors pose a challenge or offer an opportunity, you mix and match these variables and either counter that challenge, threat, or encash upon the opportunity. Fine. So a set of controllable factors is an easier definition to remember. Now, point is, pandemic is the second P or seventh factor, pathological, I say. So how did organizations handle it? So a few things have happened. For example, you have seen Happy Sunshine Bisleri, new products or new features were added, health enhancing, immunity boosting, packagings were changed, fine, or quantity or size more or less. This is what organizations normally do. In terms of price, we have seen two things. Is it economy or premium? Let me listen to you. It's been a monologue for quite some time by now. Price. Did pandemic encourage economy segment or premium segment? Another comment, let me see. Both. Sonal, you are correct, in fact, both. Remember, market is not a monolith. For example, market for morning nutrition. So you will see those food stalls on the roadside that serve a breakfast for rupees 10 in the morning. Fine. Yes. So, Sanika, you said which section of society. In the field of marketing, we call it which segment of the market. Fine. You said which section of society? I call it which segment of the market we are targeting. So let's see, your language is perfect. Which section of the society we are looking at? I say which segment of the market you are targeting. Okay. So there could be two extreme cases, minimum two extreme cases. One is the affluent segment. Most of us would be following in that category because we are now looking at a premium qualification in reasonably good places where fees are high. So we can afford paying a premium because we are concerned about preserving our health. We don't mind paying a few rupees more for good products, immunity boosting products, and for services if they are delivered safely to us. We don't mind paying extra delivery charges to an online retailer if the products are properly sanitized, if the delivery boy is doubly vaccinated and maintains all the protocols. Same holds true for hotels. There are many hotels and restaurants who have displayed outside fully vaccinated, all staff fully vaccinated. And then if they really want to charge a premium, why would you? Because there are two hotels or two restaurants. One has got all the staff fully vaccinated, the other one does not claim so. Now it's up to you where you want to go. Fine. But yes, large number of people who have been badly hit by the pandemic, they are more likely to go for economy. So both the price points are actually operating differently. And that's pretty unfortunate. The economy segment is larger, but then of course margins are not that great. Third is place, distribution. Now here I'll repeat, we have already mentioned about it. When we talk about distribution options, so people went to shopping malls because they wanted better experience, more variety, and better deals. Okay. Now it has been kind of, at least for some time, replaced with convenience, safety, or safety first, I must say. Safety, convenience, and economy. Okay. The uppermost strata will add quality also. Fine. The places where we get quality stuff. Promotion is tricky. Overall, the trend has been, even in pre-pandemic phase, people were actually moving online, social media, digital media. But is traditional media gone? I mean, for example, let's talk of an instrument that we have at our home called television, correct? We still watch content on the screen, which is by Sony or Samsung or LG. I'm talking of television. But the signals might come from a different source. So earlier in my childhood, we had those antennas and DD1, DD2 kind of channels coming. Or then we had those cable connections, cable TV. Then we had this DTH, all those dishes on top. And now we have OTT, which comes through internet. Imagine OTT is something that we access online through internet, but we can still see it on television for all practical purposes. It runs the same way. Of course, it gives you different kind of flexibilities and varieties. So it's a very strange thing. The platforms, think of radio, fine. At one point in time, radio was dead. But then FM gave it a new lease of life. So yes, it's a fact that online media is being used a lot, but does not mean that traditional media is dead. A lot of changes have happened within traditional media also. Yes, Sanika, you are correct. I don't think traditional media is, you're right. I don't think traditional media is going anywhere, but the online marketing opportunities are expanding. Very true. I think you have presented my argument much more concisely, briefly. That's a nice way of putting it. Being a professor, I'm fond of speaking a lot. So maybe my expression is more elaborate and detailed. But yes, it's still there. It has reinvented itself. So that will remain. Yes, that's true. So if I go about summing up my conversation, we seem to be on time. It's about pandemic has added a strong additional filter. In our minds, it has changed our way of looking at things, way we evaluate offers or products. Accordingly, wants have been, please never say needs. Marketers don't create needs, marketers don't change needs. The basic element that we act upon is wants. We make few products wanted by us. Fine. So wants have been modified accordingly. Different kind of products, maybe. It changed the way consumers think and act. So our evaluation process as well as shopping behaviors have been modified. And of course, companies have been trying incessantly. Fine. Something that needs to be seen is how many of these changes would survive, stay back in the long run. The reason being, if you are an organization and you want to really change your business model or business systems or infrastructure or recruiting policy or employee skills and training in light of pandemic, would you make all those investments if these changes are only for 2 years and your organization is likely to survive for 50, 100 years? I mean, accounting principle says going concern method. Businesses are actually supposed to be going concerns, going forever. So that's a big challenge which organizations need to really look at. And if we look back at this whole discussion we had, you will see a number of impacts or behavioral changes. They're already fading and are likely to, I mean, things might be back to normal, but then there are certain things that might remain a part of our lives. And this is where your skill as a marketing manager comes into play. Well, that's all I had to share. Thanks for being such wonderful audience.
A big thank you to you, and also a big thank you to all the attendees who made it possible on a Friday evening, as you said. Great. So we will convey our next session soon. Please stay in tune.
And
Thank
thanks
you so much.
everyone. Thanks for
Thank you,
being with
Professor.
me. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.